Good morning, Golders Green Parish Church. It's lovely to be with you again. We may not be able to open our building for Sunday worship as we are used to, but we are still being church. I and others are keeping in touch with people by phone. And if you need any help in any way at all, then do email me on rex@gg-pc.co.uk and then I can give you a call and see how we can help you. This morning I want to talk to you for a little while about the story of Joseph. In our morning prayer in recent weeks, we've been going through the last chapters of Genesis, looking at the story of Joseph. Joseph was a story that I thought I knew very well. Back in the 1970s, I went with my school to see Joseph and His Technicoloured Dreamcoat by Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber. A wonderful event that I remember very, very well. And we sang that in our parts, some of those songs in our school choir. I've always felt a little bit sorry for Joseph. I thought that he was a bit hard done by, really. But reading the story again, I was struck by what little I knew about him and some of the things that I discovered about him as we went through the story and his brothers. If I'm honest, I don't think he's a brother that I would have particularly liked to have. He felt superior to his other brothers, and he was the favourite of their father, and he was only too pleased to rub their noses in it as often as he could, sharing his dreams of how he was going to be superior to them. But I'm not sure selling him into slavery was an appropriate reaction to a brother that you don't particularly like, but that's what happened to Joseph, as you will remember only too well. But things turn out okay for him there as well. The Lord is with him, we're told, and he finds a job with Potiphar in his household, and Potiphar trusts him to look after his household. Unfortunately, Potiphar's wife quite takes a liking to Joseph as well, and this only causes him some more trouble. So the moment he thinks things are on the up, things take a downturn again, and she turns against him and has him locked up and put into prison. But there he meets two people, the cupbearer and the baker of the Pharaoh, who themselves have been thrown into prison. And they share the same dream. And Joseph, who's a bit of a man of dreams, is able to interpret that for them. And he asks them, don't forget me when you get out of prison. Or one of them will get out of prison, one of them is executed. But of course, as soon as he gets out of prison and is back in favour again with the Pharaoh, he completely forgets all about Joseph, until Pharaoh has a dream that troubles him. And then the cupbearer remembers that there was a man in prison who could interpret dreams, and he calls for Joseph to come out. And Joseph again finds favour with Pharaoh. This is all up and down. He's in prison finding favour, and this is how his life seems to be. One roller coaster ride after another. He interprets the dream as that there will be 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. This turns out to be true, and Pharaoh then puts him in charge of all of the land. Now his brothers hear that there is corn in Egypt, and their father sends them to find some, see if they can purchase some for themselves. Here I see bits of Joseph that I really found quite befuddling, really. He almost torments his brothers. He doesn't tell them who he is. He allows them to have some grain, but then puts their money that they've paid for it back into the sacks. They look as if they've stolen the goods. And he tricks them into getting all of the brothers, all of the family to come to Egypt. But then we get the happy ending that we wanted to, and they all move into Egypt. This strikes me as a story of a roller coaster, really, of being thrown down a well, then sold into slavery. His life is spared and sold into slavery. He then finds favour in slavery, and then he's thrown into prison. He then eventually finds favour with Pharaoh, and his life gets back to somewhere where I imagine he would wanted it to be. Those who lived through those events, though, would they have understood that the Lord was with them? Would Joseph, when he was being thrown down the well or sold into slavery or thrown into prison, have thought that the Lord was with him, which is what the scriptures tell us was the case? Would he have realised that himself? I don't think so. And I don't think those around him would have said the Lord is with that man, because he just seems to go from one disaster to the other. But that is the case. The Lord was with him. And as we are going through these most unusual times in our country, perhaps we might be tempted to think that the Lord has abandoned us. Perhaps some might say that we deserve to be abandoned for the way in which we've treated our world, that now our world is getting its own back on us. But I don't think that's the case either. God was with Joseph, and I believe God is still with us. I do think he's asking us to think of new ways to live, to think of new ways and have new priorities in our lives, but he is certainly still with us. God is working out of God has worked out of the chaos of the life of Joseph, and he will work out of the chaos that we are currently experiencing, because that's what God does. God bless you all.